Hello, my name is Faith Gernhardt. I'm a fiber arts enthusiast. Back in 2007, I bought this book, A Tatting Adventure by Ben Faker. I bought it because I liked his designs. Particularly, I liked a design he called Fall. Beautiful square doily with these butterflies. Now, I'm not particularly into I'm not particularly into doilies, period. But I thought this would make a beautiful tablecloth. I tested first to see if I could make a rectangle out of it. So I read through the pattern following the chart, and I got to the point where you did a split ring. It says ring 12 and 28 are single shuttle split rings. Halfway, you insert a ring 10 by 3 double stitches. This is like a bridge to the next round. After ring 50, another 3 repeats. So, looking at his chart at rings 12 and 28, we see the split ring. The symbol here with the dash through it is a split ring symbol. That wasn't enough information for me because this was the first time I had seen a single thread split ring. So I go to the front of the book. Also, this is where I found about handy hands. And I look through his instructions, and he says split rings and split chains. Often they serve to go from round to round without the need to cut and tie ends. If you do not know how to do them, the pattern provides information for both ways. Fall on page 26 is the only pattern that uses the single shuttle split ring. That was not enough information for me. So I went to my library, my personal library, and I got out 2 books that were libraries or volumes about tatting stitches. In one of them, I couldn't even find a reference to a split ring. In the other, I found a reference, but it just simply said, yeah, you can also make a split ring with a single thread. I went looking out on the internet, and I found a page that described in print how to make a single thread split ring. And she tells you to go up, make the first half of the ring that's going to be split, close that ring at that point until the core, it's not called a core there, but until the core is the length it would be if it were a full ring. And then you make your second ring above it, and you come back and, I quote, you use a crochet hook to help you complete the ring. That was the end of the instructions. Well, Kurt Bar Girl Scout, I went to work. It took me several hours to figure out what I was doing, but I did get it figured out, most especially getting that much of a start. And I'm going to be using this very heavy cord so that you can see what's going on. To make a single thread split ring, first you're going to make the first part of the ring that's going to be at the base. The neat thing about this method on the single thread split ring is that you can split that ring off, split rings off of that one that's your base anywhere you want. I'm using the loop method of tatting. I'm just going to split off in the middle. And as for the fall pattern, it calls for 3 picot 3, then a ring of 3 picot 3 for 10 times 3, and then you complete 3 picot 3. So that's what I'm going to do here, is the split ring as it's done on the fall pattern. So I'm going to make 3 stitches. This big thread is clumsy as all get out. 1, 2, 3. This is a little trick you can use on a big ring of twisting the pattern thread around your little finger. A picot. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm ready to split off and make the second ring. So I'm going to pull my ring in until my core on this side is the same. My core that doesn't have any pattern around it is the same length as my core that does. That looks about right. It can get tight. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger. The fall pattern calls for 10 sets of 3 with picots between. I'm going to make just 4 because this yarn is so thick. Making 10 is going to be so huge I don't think I could even manipulate it. So I'm going to make 4 picot 4. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I want to make, and you close your ring. As I said, that ring up there, you can have anything it wants. Also, it could be anywhere on the ring. This pattern called for it to be halfway. Now we go back and we, as that written description said, we use a crochet hook to help us make the rest of the ring. So we're going to reach through from the top, grab the pattern, coming from behind, which is the reverse of what you would normally do using the loop method. That doesn't look at all like a half hitch, does it? But watch what happens. When I put my loop in the front and I pull through from behind, there's my first half hitch. I pull it up, shuttle goes through from the front, and there's a full lark's head knot. Again, coming from behind, pull it up, bring it through. It doesn't look a bit like a half hitch, but then when I do the reverse and pull it to the back, here's my first half of the half hitch, come through from the front. There's my 2 stitches. I did 3, didn't I? So I make 1 more, coming from the back, pull it up. Notice I'm not pulling it good and taut. That's because I'm going to manipulate that half hitch after I've pulled it back through. Then I pull it up with the tension that I'm using throughout. Now this next one needs a picot. All right. A picot is a space between. So I start my first stitch, leave that nice and loose because we're going to be making a picot in there. And then when I pull it around and I've got my half hitch, now I form my loop for my picot. Come in from the front, tighten my stitch down, and there's my picot. I can put as many picots as I want. I could have branching out all over the place. This could be the center of a snowflake, for example. Come from behind again. Pull it through. Tighten it up. Pull the loop through. That's 2. I've made my core here a bit too big. I should have to really just push those together, and I will demonstrate this method on my project that I'm doing using his fall pattern. And we come from behind and we tighten that stitch. If you've made your core the right length, you're going to have a ring the same size as all of your previous rings that may have been in what you were working on. Next, I'm going to show you making this style of single thread split ring on the work that is using the fall pattern. This is my tablecloth. I've got it in a bag to protect it from cat and dog hair, dirt, whatever. Because a tablecloth is not a small thing to make. I have a mini hook on a string. Whoops. What I just did was turn that because I am working from the left to the right. If I were a southpaw, a lefty, I would quite possibly be working from the right to the left. So here's my round, and here's my joining section between them, and the whole tablecloth is down inside there. And where I need to use my split ring is right here. So I'm going to be making about 3 more rings, because there's 4 rings before each join from row to row. So I'm going to make 3 more rings. I've made the 4 rings that are the space between joins from row to row. So I'm going to do my last little middle join. Another reason for keeping the bulk of the tablecloth in the bag is that it keeps it compact and it doesn't start hanging and putting all that weight that's building up on my work. Now I pick, it's a little spider. I pick up the ring that I'm joining onto the tablecloth, and I make the bottom ring of my split ring. So I make the first half of the ring. This is a 3x4 ring. So there's the first 3, join, there's the second 3, and I'm making my second ring off of the middle, and I'm going to be closing. I'll close it down to the point where the core is the same, or I believe the core is the same as in previous stitches. So see there, if I do that, that stitch is going to be a little big. This is an awfully hard thing to choose. If you make it too big, it's obvious that it's there. If you make it too small, you have the very dickens of a time getting 6 stitches there. But that looks about right. So now we start the second ring, and in making that ring, we make what's called a false picot, because picots are used to join. So that's 1. I'm going to do a speed through of producing this ring, because it's not integral to understanding how to make the split ring. Okay, so now I have my split ring, my ring above it, and I'm going to complete the split ring with the help of a crochet hook. Actually, a mini hook. Come in from the top, pull my pattern, pull my loop to the front from the back, bring my shuttle through from the back. Doesn't look like a square knot yet. Come from behind, pull through from the front to make a loop. Work that half hitch up. Go through the loop from the front. There's my completed half stitch, double stitch or lark's head knot. Coming from the back, pull a loop through to the front. Bring the shuttle from the back to the front. Bring it down. Do not make it too snug. Come from behind, pull a loop to the back from the front. Now snug up that first half hitch. Come from the front to the back with your shuttle to form the second half of the stitch. Pull a loop through from the back to the front. Shuttle from the back. Shuttle from the back to the front. Bring that up. Pull a loop from the front to the back. Pull up the half hitch now that it has formed. Bring the shuttle from the front to the back through the loop. Our third stitch is complete. Now I'm ready to make the picot because this was a 3 by 4. So I have 3 picot, 3 picot, 3, and I make a picot. Come from the back and make a loop. Bring your shuttle through the loop from the back, but do not tighten that down at all. Leave it nice and loose. Lay your thread across. Come from the back and pull the loop. And see your loose stitch here? Pull it out. I go ahead and pull plenty of thread so that I can stop dropping. Pull out plenty of thread so that I can manipulate that picot. Then pinch the picot, which I normally do when I make picots anyway. Pinch right at the end of that picot. Doing that will hold that half hitch just where you want it while you bring the shuttle through and make the second half of the double stitch. Looks like I don't have enough room. Just pull it apart. See how if there is core under there that's going to do it. As I said, if your core's too short, then you're going to have trouble getting those stitches in. Pull the thread through to make the loop to the back. Shuttle from the front to the back. I didn't snug up my half hitch. Snug it up and work a little space again for that stitch. It can get quite tight finishing up your work. Pull the loop through from the back. shuttle from the back through the loop, pull a loop from the front to the back, snug up the first, that shuttle is in the mood to just slide. So I just go through and pull that through again. From the front to the back and snug it up. And there is your split ring in the pattern. If you were looking at this pattern after the work is done, say right here, you could still tell that this was a split ring because at least with the variegated yarn like this, because you see the variegation moves as the rings go, but here the variegation moves through the two rings. So we've now completed the split ring. As an artist, I am at best a duffer. But here's a little design I came up with that really shows the power of the branching split ring. I started with the center circle, come out to another circle that has picots on either side that joins over, then comes up to a larger circle that has a ring going out part way, a ring going out, and you can see I've decided that would be a 4x6, so it comes off on the second. And then the ring going out, and here's completing with the picot, completing back down, and then out, join to the picot, make that ring, join to the existing ring there, come over, make a ring, come back, make picot, etc. Then the next thing I have is I have a picture partway through making half of this little ball design. And you can see each of the split rings that are in use with their cores. One of the things when you're looking at making split rings is making sure that your core is the same size from one ring to the next ring. And here you see I've got the center split ring, and a second split ring, and a third split ring. Each are different sizes. So what I did is I made a gauge. I made myself a ring that was a 4x3, and then I made a gauge to fit that so that when I do make this ring, I just close the core down to match that gauge. I made another ring that was the size that was a 4x6, and it made a gauge to fit that ring. And that way I'm able to get these guys to be consistently the same size throughout my pattern. And you can see the partial split rings. And you can see I've split off 3 times. There's no limit to how many times you split off. You are going to be coming back, though, as you plan your design. This is the half of the ball, which is as much as I drew on my design. If I wanted this to be flat, I would need to make this center ring a little larger because I would need 8 repeats, and I'm only using 6 repeats here. And that's why it's becoming a ball. And you can see I've made half of the ball. And now, so here is the design, and a balloon has been blown up inside of it with glue. And I will take the balloon out, and you can see the ball as it will be presented as a gift. And here is the ball. So this is just a little tiny example of the kind of flexibility that you have with the branching split ring. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, and God bless.